being here. I know it was kind of on short notice, and I know you're busy, so I appreciate you rearranging your schedule or whatever to come here. We've got an hour, so you can take as long as you want or as short as you want, to be honest with you. So at your time, we are ready to go. So
all right.
I think we have the PowerPoint.
I do.
Use
I
whatever
do.
You want, and we can go from here.
And I promise not to break the clicker today. So.
I wish you would sometime.
Well, good morning, and thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be here. You all have my presentation, and I'm going to be obviously referencing that as we go. As you know, we always start with our vision and mission because I think it's very important that we constantly remind ourselves that we all are about creating this world-class educational system for our children so that they can be successful regardless of what they decide to do in life. Our board's goals are the goals that we set in the strategic plan. They are through, as you can see, 2025. Very 6 clear goals that we work on, and the entire department is organized around these goals. And so that's something also that the districts also are working very hard around these goals. Before I start talking about what it is that we're asking for, I think it's really important to talk about your return on investment. The first thing that we have spent a lot of money on with the Literacy-Based Promotion Act is professional development for teachers. And that is the one thing that we have continued to provide is a strong professional development program. Right now it's virtual, but we have online, we have on demand, and once we get through the pandemic, we'll revert back to our in-person. But we have provided a lot of support to our teachers during this entire time. Our literacy coaches are still at work. You can see that we've lost a couple of them that wanted to return back to the classroom, which is perfectly fine. But we have tracked the data, and the data show very clearly that any school that's supported by one of our literacy coaches does better, and our student outcomes are higher. Our early learning children, our early childhood, the collaboratives, as I said to you the last time I was here, the collaboratives are knocking it out of the park. I mean, absolutely out of the park. We are disaggregating the data of children that are entering our kindergarten by where they were as 4-year-olds. So we know which ones were in Head Start, we know which ones were kept at home, we know which ones were in a private and or public daycare and or private and public pre-K, and you will see that we have more than this subgroup, the kids that are coming out of our collaboratives are outperforming all other children in all other settings. Hence, we'll be talking about that a little bit later. Kindergarten readiness, we still have 2 out of every 3 children coming into our kindergarten are not ready for kindergarten. But you can see that by the end of the year, that flips, and we now have 2/3 of them ready for first grade. So my comment, I often say, is imagine if we had more of our children in our collaboratives coming in prepared for kindergarten and ready for kindergarten. Imagine what that kindergarten teacher could do, or that first grade teacher could do. They would be that much further prepared. Our 3rd grade reading assessment, you've seen some data there. I want to thank you again in 2016 when you approved the change in the law that lifted the bar. When we first wrote the law said children only had to pass at the lowest, above the lowest achievement level. Well, when you've got a 5-level system, all they had to do was score above level 1, and that was nowhere near proficient. Level 4 is proficient, level 5 is advanced. So I asked you in 2016 to raise the bar, and you did, and we gave the districts 3 years notice. So in 2019, that was the year that the students were tested that had the higher bar. There was a lot of anxiety thinking we were going to have a lot of children that did not pass, and you can see that we had an incredibly high pass rate with the highest bar that the children had ever had. And that speaks volumes about our teachers and the work that our teachers are doing to make sure that our children are reading on grade level by the end of grade 3. You can see our MAP scores. This is our statewide assessment. Those have continued to climb every single year. There's not been a year that we've had anything that's gone down. In fact, every measure that we're looking at has gone up every single year. Take a look at our districts in ELA and math. These are the districts that have more than 45% of their children scoring proficient or advanced. That's significant. So you can see in ELA, we have more than triple the amount, and in mathematics, we have more than quadrupled the number of districts that have more than 45% of their children scoring proficient or advanced. I've given you this chart on slide 13. This, excuse me, gives you some comparison of ELA and math over a 2-year period of time. And you can see in almost every single grade, with the exception of grade 6 and grade English 2, all grades have gone up. Every single year, the percentages have gone up and have gone up substantially. NAEP, needless to say, we got a lot of press around the nation. We were the only state in the nation that showed growth in 3 of the 5 areas. This is a 10-year span for us, from 2009 to 2019. These are statistically significant gains. We are recognized around the nation for the gains that we have made in NAEP. And you can see on the next slide, slide 15, we were number 1 in the nation for our gains in 4th grade reading and math. We were number 2 in the nation for our gains in 4th grade math. Speak to me again, Carrie. Number 1 in the nation for our gains in 4th grade reading and math. Number 2 in the nation for our gains in 8th grade math. And we were 3rd in the nation for our gains in 8th grade math as well. So these are not insignificant scores. And I can tell you, because of the number of my colleagues that are calling me to ask, what are you doing? What is happening in Mississippi, that the scores are continuing to climb. In slide 16, advanced placement. When we started out, there were some of our high schools that weren't offering not even 1 advanced placement class. We put in an AP initiative, and you can now see that the number of children that are participating has nearly doubled since 2013. Our pass rate is at an all-time high. You can also see that African Americans and Hispanics are showing significant gains as well. And more importantly, our IHLs have worked with us now, and they have agreed that any child that takes an advanced placement class and an exam and scores 3 or higher automatically earns 3 credits of college and can earn up to 6 credits of college depending on the class. That is now consistent across the state. That had not been the case before. Some universities were saying, no, I'll accept it if it's a 3. Some were saying, no, I'll accept it as a 4. Some were saying, no, I'll accept it as a 5. But 3 and higher is what now all IHLs. So you've got children that are going to be entering college with probably at least 1 semester, if not more, covered, which is great news for parents and great news for children. Our graduation rate has continued to grow. You can see on this, we are now at 85%. We are about 0.6% below the national average, which is significant for us. And once again, you can see on slide 18, at the same time, our dropout rate has gone down significantly over the years. So this is letting us know that children are staying engaged. Our teachers are doing a great job of keeping them engaged and keeping them in school so that we have more children graduating. We also take a look, if you remember, goal 6 was all of our districts should be and schools should be rated C or higher. You can see in 2016, we only had 62% of our districts that were rated C or higher. We are now at 70% of our districts being rated C or higher. And the next slide shows you school grades. We've gone from 62% to 74% of our schools that are rated C or higher. Significant growth, significant praise needs to be given to our districts and our schools. So now I wanted to share that with you because I think it's important. Hang on a second. I have that world's worst habit I said earlier about wanting to lick my finger, but you can't very well do that in a mask. To make these pages turn a little bit easier. Hang on one second. Here we go. The last thing that I want to show you before we go to legislative initiatives is Quality Counts. Quality Counts is an annual report that Education Week, a national publication, comes out with, and they compare all of the states around the nation in various categories. This is the second year in a row that we have been recognized as one of the most improved states. We now rank number 2 in the nation for our improvements. We are one of the 5 most improved states in the nation. That's significant information. Mississippi is in the nation's eye, and it's because of our educational progress that we've made, and it's because of the way that you have continued to fund education so that we can move forward with the reform that we are doing. You can see that last bullet. In 2020, Mississippi experienced the greatest improvement education ranking, 39th in the nation. That's up from 44. That's huge for us. That's a huge, huge skip. So let's talk about our legislative priorities and why we're asking for what we're asking for. Once again, on slide 23, you will see that we are asking for money for our information system. This has been an ask that I have had every single year. I'm very concerned that our information system, which is well over 20 years old, is not able to do the kinds of things that even you want it to do. If you recall what we went through in trying to even get the teacher count, and how all that's coded and how it's coded at the local level versus how it's coded, we need a greater capacity in our information system. And so I'm really asking that you give serious thought to this. This is something that's critical for our needs. Once again, we're asking for you to expand early childhood programs. Our collaboratives are working. I can tell you that there is a waiting list. So every time that you appropriate money, we put out an application process, and we have more people that want to get involved in pre-K programs than we have money for. So this is these legislative priorities that the board put together. That's one of the reasons. We've been following and tracking these children, and they are continuing to do well, even into elementary school. We've got, there we go. Secondary education, we've got a request for $460,000. That's going to support more districts of innovation, more early college, high schools. We've been expanding those around our state. They've been very successful, and when they're not successful, then we close them down. There is no reason to open a program if it's not going to be producing student outcomes that we want. Then those children we need to be programming for them very differently. The money that you see at the bottom is we have increased the number of courses that we're offering. Also, that includes advanced placement, dual credit, dual enrollment. You have paid for those courses. We're asking for that money once again. Actually, you're paying for the exams on a reimbursable basis, I'm sorry. But that has been a big help to the districts, whether they want to help pay and offset the cost of those exams. We are continuing to ask for more money for professional development. This has continued to be a request from our teachers. We've gotten a lot of positive feedback on the PD that we've been offering, whether it's been in person and even our virtual PD. And so we can expand our professional development offering if we have more money. We're also asking for an expansion of the MCOPS program. We're requesting an additional $1 million in order to be able to put more officers in our schools. The detention centers continue to be a problem financially. We have 15 of them right now. They're only getting about $600,000, I think, each, and no, that's wrong. $60,000, back up a zero. I thought that's not right. $60,000 each, and it's costing far more than that. We're asking at least this would give us an increase of $600,000 to be able to appropriate $100,000 to each of our 15 detention centers. That's sorely needed, and some detention centers obviously may need even more than that. We'd love the money back this was not funded, to start back up with our superintendents and principals academies. Leadership matters. This gives us an opportunity to train our current superintendents and our principals, and even aspiring superintendents and principals. With the assessment system, we're only asking, this is a $48,000 increase for that. We are asking to set up an Office of Test Security. That is something that most states have, and that would give us the ability to make sure that we are ensuring that our tests are administered in a safe, reliable, and valid way, and that there are no irregularities occurring. Our accreditation review teams, that used to be funded at a much higher level, to be honest with you, when I first got here. These are the teams that go out to the districts and conduct our accreditation audits to make sure that our schools are abiding by the standards that we've set and are meeting the accreditation standards that we've set. Those funds I think there was probably more than twice this when I first got here, and so that's something that we really need. We had been able to on a 3-year cycle, provide an accreditation audit for every district in the state. And that is not the case now, simply because we just don't have the money. And last but not least, we're certainly asking for full funding of MAEP. There are other amounts, smaller amounts, as you can see, for the Mississippi School of the Blind and Deaf, the Mississippi Math and Science, and the School of the Arts, and you can see those figures that are there. I want to give you just a brief update again on our digital learning, our Mississippi Connects. I talked about this, I believe, at the hearing the last time I was here, so some of this may not be new to those of you that were here. There are 5 components of that. Obviously, with Senate Bill 3044 and House Bill 1788, that gave us $200 million to put this initiative in place, and people are very excited about it. And these are the various pieces that we did. We purchased all the devices and the services that went on the laptop. Obviously, connectivity was part of that House Bill 1788. PD is something we're now standing up in a very large way. Our teachers are continuing to ask for professional development around technology, and we're doing that. And I have been involved with a very large group from the medical community on telehealth and teletherapy. We just had our another meeting yesterday. So we're getting ready to launch that. We're hoping that we can get that launched in spring. Every medical association or group of professionals is serving on this team. So it's not just the department, it's the Mississippi Medical Association, it is the University of Mississippi Medical Center, it's the Academy of Pediatrics, it's the Association of Family Physicians, it's Medicaid, it's the Department of Health. So everybody's coming together to rally around the expansion of this telehealth and teletherapy. These are the 2 laws that you passed. I want to congratulate you again. We are the only state in the nation that put together this comprehensive initiative, the only state in the nation. And so we are getting a lot of calls from our colleagues around the nation to find out, how did you put this together and what were the components, and we're sharing all the information that we currently have to give them on this. So thank you again for that. We could not have done that without the generosity of the legislature. We have 148 of our 150 districts that did participate in this. We purchased 390,000 devices. 325,000 of those were purchased through bulk order, and then 65,000 devices districts were purchasing independently and not on our bulk order. So we expended 98.6% of the money that you gave us for this, and all devices were delivered by December the 1st, and all districts have been reimbursed by the December 15 deadline. On House Bill 1788, you can see the number of districts that participated, including all of the Choctaw tribal schools, 31 of our 121 independent schools, and we expended 78.9% of that money. Most of that money went to hotspots and various equipment. There were some districts that are setting up and building their own cell towers in order to make sure that connectivity is reaching the areas of the state that are most difficult. So with the summary on page 38, you will see the overall full funding request for MAEP. On pages 39 and continuing through, we've broken that down by area. I want to draw your attention to slide 41 for just a minute. And I want you to see that our request for MDE for our K-12 operations is less than 1% of the entire budget. So I think that says a lot about the amount of work that the department is putting out with the very few people that we have. Very proud of the team that I have, very proud of the people that are working in the department, and we are continuing to produce work for our districts. And the rest of these pages are backup pages that will give you more information. You'll also see historical data. A lot of you, I know, ask for that each year. What does this look like in comparison to years past? And that's what we've provided you as well. So I will stop there and take any questions that you may have.
Thank you, Dr. Wright. The MAEP full funding number you have, is that based on the current ADA without any of the changes? I know you presented 3 different options in committee the other day. Is that I think it's 410,000, is that
Yes, that's based on the law as it currently exists. We did not make any adjustments. It does include those districts that submitted inordinately large absences. It does include that, but it's based on strictly the way the law is written currently, not, I think that was probably scenario, yeah, I don't think it was one of the scenarios in that funding, but it's based on the full funding of MAP as the law exists today.
All right. And just curiously, do you ever, I guess, query districts on their enrollment throughout the year, even past ADA? So this year, for this semester, do you ask districts what's their enrollment now? Is there a rolling way? I'm just curious.
They've got to submit their attendance to us on a monthly basis, and then ADA is calculated, I believe, on months 2 and 3.
Yeah.
So I have heard from several superintendents whose enrollment has decreased. They are concerned about that, and I think all of them would tell you that they fully expect most of these children to return to school once I think the pandemic is lessened. But as I said to you in the hearing, I really hope that we can have a conversation about moving away from ADA and moving to ADM, average daily membership. Because districts still have to pay for the teachers, they've still got to pay for the lights, so whether kids are there on a given day, just like if we had a flu outbreak, right? And ADA happened to capture that time, those children are still going to be back and still have to be counted for. So I hope we can have a conversation about ADM.
I definitely think we will, maybe after the session during the summer as we go forward.
That's
There's
great.
a whole discussion surrounding MAEP.
Okay.
Regarding the RCU, Research and Curriculum Unit, I know we had some issues here recently. How are they funded? And up at Mississippi State, the Research and Curriculum Unit, how do we fund them? I want to make sure we don't have issues like that going forward.
That's what I was going to say. We don't fund them. We contract with them.
Right.
And we use federal and state money to do the contracts, but we don't fund RCU.
Okay. So you're just a flow through. You don't say, okay, you don't reduce their budget, you don't reduce their contract?
No.
Okay.
The only thing the only way we would give them less money is if we had less money to give them. I mean, do you know what I mean? Like if we normally had, I'll make this number up, if we normally had a $100,000 contract, but we don't have $100,000, then we can't give them that contract money. But they've been a valuable partner with us, a very valuable partner with us.
Exactly. The other day in the meeting, you mentioned that you had, you were talking about after-school programs, and you were going to be using summer programs, and that you had some extra travel money.
Correct.
That you had available to fund those. How much money do you have left over?
I can give you that amount. I don't have that off the top of my head, but I'll be happy to give you that. Since we've not been providing, as many face-to-face professional developments, and the people have not been traveling, we've got this money, and I want it to go to good use. So we were contemplating then putting that out for applications to our districts to run summer programs or after-school programs and give that money, make that available to them.
Good idea. And has anything suffered because of your reduced travel? Have you found any more difficulties, or has the department suffered or district suffered because of the less travel?
Well, I can say that, the lack of face-to-face PD, I think, makes a big difference. I mean, to try and get everything virtually, and differentiate your professional development has been difficult. And some districts have not wanted us in, right, because of the pandemic. So we've had to balance the need for making sure that we're providing the support with the consciousness of knowing that a lot of districts did not allow people that did not belong to the district inside their schools.
Okay. Well, I just think that as we're moving towards a digital age, we're all using Zoom and this and that.
Sure.
Maybe the travel wouldn't be required as much anymore. And we can
Right, and the same thing with our literacy coaches. A lot of what they've been doing, rather than being embedded in the school on any given day, some of the things that they've been doing has been virtual as well. Mm-hmm.
All right, thank you, Dr. Wright. Does any member have any questions? Senator Norwood?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Dr. Wright and staff. Dr. Wright, the CARES money that you were not able to spend during that, I don't know if you were able to spend it, but the CARES money that was, you say you spent 98.6%.
That was the Senate Bill 3044 money, right. But that was the stabilization dollars. That was out of that $1.25 billion that the state of Mississippi received. That money came from that pot of money, not the CARES money.
Okay, and so the difference was returned
To the state.
Okay. The 78.9, was that CARES dollar or that was the same?
No, that was stabilization money as well, and what was left over reverted back to the state.
Okay. So as far as the monies that were, the CARES dollars that were awarded to MDE, you were able to expend all of those dollars, or you are spending them on time?
So the money that came out from the CARES 1, or the ESSER money as now it's called, the districts already, that we pushed that out, we reserved 10%, 5% for admin, and we have until 2022 to spend that money. We have a plan for spending that money, but we have until 2022. Now, the new monies that are arriving from the ESSER, I'm going to call them ESSER 2 monies, that money is being pushed to the districts as well, and with a 10% set aside for the state. So it's the same, there are different nuances with it in terms of what we're required to do. If you'll recall, under the ESSER 1 money, the districts were required to provide equitable services. With the ESSER 2 money, they're not. And so, and then the governor has another pot of money that he's going to be receiving to use, and there's a pot that's set aside also for non-public schools.
Okay. I guess my concern is that we expend, and that the districts would expend all of the dollars that's afforded them.
Well, they know they've got until 2022, September 30, 2022, to spend all of that money under ESSER 1, and the ESSER 2 money, they have until 2023 to spend that money.
And they look like they're on track, more or less?
Well, yeah, it's kind of early for us to know that yet, but as they spend their money, it's got to be spent on allowable expenses, and so they have all that information given to them about what they can and cannot spend money on.
My next question is, and I'm glad to see as far as your request, don't know if it'll be funded, but the request regarding the accreditation standards and beefing up that team, that would allow you to provide more preventive type of services or measures so that districts won't get out of whack and create greater challenges along the line.
You are exactly correct. That's its purpose. Its purpose is to get out there to find out what's going on and then to be of a resource to them to help them correct what's not working or what they're in violation of. And that is exactly the purpose. I mean, it's to go out and make sure that our schools are running the way that they should be and following the standards that they should be following. That's right.
Okay, my final question would be, all the monies, all the new monies, will there be opportunities that you will be able to, I think we met with MPB and we heard your comment regarding the relationship. Are there opportunities that you all could extend that partnership or that agreement to provide additional services or go into the areas? And one of the things that I think they talked about was the district learning. Are there opportunities?
Oh, absolutely. MPB will always be a partner with us. I mean, that goes without saying. They have been an invaluable partner with us. So however we can come together, to make it work for children and children across the state, we're committed to doing that.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Dr. Wright.
You're welcome.
Senator Blackwell.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Dr. Wright, first of all, let me congratulate you and the department on your achievements. It's nice to see Mississippi being recognized as excelling instead of
Yes, indeed.
maybe getting kicked all the time.
We're very proud of that.
I have a question on the third grade reading achievement. You mentioned there were 5 levels. Would you happen to have the % score for level 4 and 5?
I do have that. Actually, it should be on slide, hang on one second. If you take a look at slide 11, You'll see ELA on the left and mathematics on the right, and those are the percentages that are scoring at levels 4 and 5.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
And then in the Equity and Distance Learning Act that we passed and the House bill, I'm just curious, on the equity and distance, there were 148 of 150. Why didn't the other two districts participate?
We had one of the districts, at least one of the districts, had already gone to, had already just had a one-to-one initiative. You know, they had already refreshed all of their computers. And I want to think it's two districts that were like that. And so they said, we don't need devices. That wasn't what they needed. And so we had surveyed all of our districts to say, here's what you should have, right? And let us know what you need. And when it came back, and we even double-checked when they came back and said nothing, it was like, well, make sure they didn't just not fill something in. But we double-checked, and they said, no, we don't really need devices, but we could use money that was still allowable in other areas. So they were able to do that.
All right. And then how about of the 144 or the 150? What happened to the other
Well, I
six?
tell you, that was harder to spend. I just need to be honest with you because, I'll just be honest about it. This was, what slide is 36? Yeah. This was really left up to the districts to do. So they were kind of on their own. You know, whereas Senate Bill 3044, we kind of had more control over, the department did, over the purchasing, the bulk purchase, the ability to kind of get it to the front of the line with that. But House Bill 1788, the money was sent right to the districts. And so they were then, and some districts just said, you know, we don't really know.
So would it be, I'm sorry, would it be fair to say that they already had broadband coverage in those?
They could have, but
Okay.
a lot of districts wanted to set up, like I said, there were a lot of districts that wanted to set up, even new cell towers and tried to build cell towers. But with the timeline to get that done, that was very hard because it was a very short timeline for them to be able to even, because all that had to be done, the services had to be rendered, everything had to be completed by December the 31st. And so there was, even with the extension, there was no way that we could have, that they could have accomplished that. So some districts just didn't do it.
So are there districts now without broadband availability?
Oh, let me be very honest about this. Connectivity is going to continue to be an issue for this state, no doubt about it. And I'm hearing that from superintendents and principals. This was a great start, don't misunderstand, but this is going to take a lot more than just one tap at it. We did contact Senator Wicker's office because he chairs Commerce, and I know that broadband is a key issue for him. So we did ask him if there's any way that you're getting ready to put extra money in, that we really need to be putting extra money into broadband and helping our districts with connectivity. That is going to continue to be a struggle for us, particularly in the rural areas of our state.
All right. And then you mentioned earlier that the colleges, junior colleges are now given credit for advanced placement scores. And that differs from dual enrollment, doesn't it?
Yes, it does. These are exams. So if you take and pass a dual credit class, then you get the three credits if that's what it is for a dual credit. But with the AP, IB, Cambridge exams that are taken, if you take those and you pass with a passing score, you're now automatically earning 3 credits. Before, our IHLs were in different spots, so they would be accepting different scores. So some said nationally it's 3 or higher, but some of our IHLs were saying no, it's got to be a 4, and some of our IHLs were saying no, it's got to be a 5. And we said we need to level the playing field, for us, because the universities around the nation, it's really 3 or higher. So IHL has agreed now that anybody that takes any of those exams and receives a passing grade will automatically earn 3 credits, and some up to 6 credits, depending on what the course is.
All right. And lastly, could you explain how dual enrollment works then?
Yeah, it's a partnership with the district and usually a local community college, but we also have some of our IHLs that are offering dual credit. And so students have to meet a certain criteria, and then they can enroll in a college course. And like our early college high schools, I mentioned that to you earlier. Our early college high schools, they still a 9 through 12 school, so 9th and 10th grade, they're taking regular kinds of classes. But starting in 11th and 12th grade, they can also start taking community college classes. And so anyone in Mississippi that attends one of our early college high schools will graduate with a diploma and an AA. So as soon as they graduate, they've got 2 years behind them, and they're already ready to go into an IHL. So anytime you have a dual credit class, that counts toward your credits toward university. I would love to see us, I think it's in one of our statutes, we have a limitation actually on the number of college credits that children can take. I'd love for us to raise that because you have a lot of children across the state that can certainly take more than, let's say, 15 credits. I have told this story many times. I was at a conference and Ohio was talking about their dual credit program, and their cap on their dual credit program is 120 hours. So that's basically students that would have the capability of doing that would have the capability of getting a degree by the time they left high school. So that's on an outer edge, but that just shows you what's possible, you know. And so I'm in a position that we should never be limiting children. Like if students are capable of taking, you know, as much as 30 credits or 45, whatever it is, then they should be allowed to do that and earn it because it pays off for parents. It's a great benefit for children, and they can get started, you know, earlier in a career. So that's basically it. Districts that go side by side with a local community college or a local university, and then those courses are offered to them.
All right, thank you, and again, congratulations on your achievements.
Well, thank you.
Thank you, Mr.
sir.
Chairman.
Thank you.
Just to follow up on Senator Blackwell's, are all the question on the dual enrollment, are all the community colleges, junior colleges allowing this early college academy that you're talking about now? Because I know a year or two ago that was probably not the case.
I would have to check on that. I don't have that answer off the top of my head, and I don't want to give you an incorrect answer, so I will
they would be. I just knew.
I wouldn't see why not, but I want to double check on that.
Okay, all right. You mentioned the federal money, and in the week that since we've last met, have you got more information as to how much money we're receiving, how it's going to be broke down, and how that money can be spent by districts?
So it's about, I'm going to do this off the top of my head, but 745, that's what, 724, okay, 724 million. That's coming in for K-12. Now, there are monies that are coming in for IHL, and there's additional monies that are coming in for the governor's office. Of that, we have to push that money. We'll have a 10% set aside for MDE with 5% for admin. And then using the remainder of that, it will be on a Title I formula that we've been told, and then that gets calculated just like it did the first time with the ESSER 1 money, and then that money will be available to the districts. Now, we are going to be offering guidance around that money. Obviously, we can't tell districts how to spend it, but knowing that it's 4 times the amount of money that they received the first time, this is a big influx of money. And so we're going to be putting some guidance together to say, here's some things that you need to be thinking about as you're purchasing this, and just to give them some ideas, so that they're not just, when you get a big influx of money, if you're not prepared for that, sometimes it's difficult to go about planning for it. So I think that there's a lot more flexibility, we've been told, with this money. So, and as I said, there's no equitable services that are required, so that gives even more money to the districts as well. But it also can include things like HVAC systems and things of that nature that districts may be struggling with. So it's a much broader swath. We're still waiting to get all of the guidance, to be honest with you, Senator. We're waiting for all the guidance to come from USED, because we know generally, and we've been on webinars, nationally, but we haven't, like in our hot hands, had the information.
Well, I think we'd be curious to know where that money can be spent.
Absolutely. Chairman, I'll be happy to give you absolutely anything that we get from the federal government around this. I'll be happy to make sure that you and your committee has that. Absolutely.
And do you know if the federal money that's coming down or that you may have, could that be used to make up for the shortfall at the RCUs and the CTE programs that we had?
I need to look at that. I don't know the supplant supplement piece, and that's the part I would be hesitant to say today.
That's fine, if you could get with us. I know
Be happy
Pete
to.
or whoever, that'd be great, so. Any other questions by the members? Okay. Once again, Dr. Wright, I'd like to echo what the committee said. You guys are doing a great job.
Thank you.
Last year was very stressful. You were pulled in many diverse areas, and I appreciate you and your team and everything that you guys have done and what you're doing for education. Appreciate it, and keep up the good work.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Appreciate you inviting me.